Please come to the next chapter called valuation of equity share. So this is also a part of security valuation. You have studied bond valuation. Now we will study valuation of equity share. First we will see from exam point of view. This chapter is very important because you usually get a question from valuation. Sometimes you get 2 questions on this topic, and this is a very vast topic because valuation of equity share can be done in multiple ways. Equity is different from bond when it comes to valuation. The reason is, in case of bond, most of the cash flows are predefined. You know, these are the dates on which you will get coupon. These are the dates on which you will get redemption value. What you have to do, you have to find a yield and you can discount the future cash flow using that yield, and that gives you the value of the bond. In case of equity share, neither the future dividend is certain nor the redemption value is certain. You don't know what will be the dividend that you will receive, what will be the amount you will receive when you will sell the share after a certain time period. So therefore, equity shares can be described easily, but when it comes to valuation, it is difficult to value compared to fixed income securities like bonds, debenture or preference share. Fixed income securities have a limited life, well-defined cash flow, use only appropriate discount rate, and you get the values. Equity share have neither fixed dividend nor limited life nor a predefined redemption value. The basic principle for valuation of fixed income security and equity shares are the same. It is the present value of your expected future benefit, but in case of equity share, estimating the future cash flow, future earning, future benefit, future growth rate, that poses a challenge. That involves a lot of complexities because you are dealing with future earning. Future itself is uncertain. Therefore, the related earnings growth rate are also very uncertain. One more thing I need to tell you, as far as valuation of equity share is concerned, lot of subjectivity is involved. That means there is no one fixed answer. There is no right answer. There are only subjective answers. There are multiple methods of valuation which we will see today, and different methods of valuation will throw different answers, and that will result into more complexities. So what sometimes the valuer does, or the parties who are negotiating the price, they might use the average of or weighted average of many methods also. For a diversified company like ITC, HUL, more than one method of valuation is used for their different businesses. So in case of ITC company, they may use one method for their cigarette business, one method for their hotel business, one method for their FMCG business. So it is also possible that they can use different methods of valuation for different companies. There is no single acceptable method of valuation when it comes to equity share. Why do we need to value equity share? When does the need for valuation of equity share arise? So as you know, the need for valuation of equity share would usually arise when you are purchasing or selling the controlling stake. Controlling stake means more than say 50% of the voting power, more than 50% of equity share. That time the buyer and the seller will go for valuation. So for example, suppose Flipkart have sold controlling interest to Walmart at a huge amount. You must have heard that deal. It was into many billions of dollars. So what they must have done, they must have got this company Flipkart valued, okay, by some valuers, and then they would have decided the consideration that should be paid. Or you must have heard Facebook company had acquired WhatsApp, so they must have paid some controlling premium. So that time they might have got the value done of this company WhatsApp. So whenever a big chunk of the shares have to be acquired, even if it is not controlling stake but a large portion, like for example Facebook have acquired some shares in Reliance Jio, so that time also they have got this Reliance Jio valued, and accordingly they paid the consideration for that. So we require the valuation when we are buying or selling controlling stake or at least a substantial stake in a company. So you can also add or substantial stake, because that time you are not just going to look at the market price, you are going to do deep analysis, evaluate many factors and then pay the price. Valuation of share is required as you have studied in accounts chapters like amalgamation, absorption, mergers, acquisition, reconstruction. Because we need to calculate the purchase consideration that will be paid by the transferee company to the transferor company, or acquiring company to the target company, or absorbing company to the absorbed company, and that time the two parties will sit and decide the valuation of share. It is required for calculating the share exchange ratio in mergers. In mergers, share exchange ratio usually for listed company will be based on their value of share. So it will be value of target company, share exchange ratio, SER means share exchange ratio, upon value of acquiring company. So that time also what they will do, they will get the value of the two companies done, and then they will use this value of share for calculating the share exchange ratio, or popularly called swap ratio. Nowadays many companies, especially the promoters, they hold a large chunk of share in a company, but those shares they don't trade in the market. Their money is blocked. What they will do, they can go to the bank and they can take a loan from the bank against the security of their shares. So what banks will do, suppose you have 1 lakh shares with you of a company, so the bank will get the shares valued. 1 lakh share will get valued and they will give loan which may be some percentage of this value, let us say 50% or 60%. Why they don't give 100%? Because one, they will take into account the possibility that the customer may default or the value of the share may fall down. So usually they will keep some margin which will be 40, 50, 60% depending upon what is that company, okay, etc. Point number 4, valuation of share is required for conversion of share from one class to other class, or for converting one security into another security. For example, there is one convertible debenture. How many shares will be given to the investor? Number of shares. What will be conversion ratio? What should be approximate conversion ratio? Now let us say face value of the debenture is 1000 rupees. So what, in order to decide the conversion ratio means number of share that will be issued against one debenture, they will get the share valued. They will get the share value. Suppose the value of share comes to 200 rupees, for example, conversion ratio will be 5. 5 share will be issued against one debenture. But suppose the value of share comes to 100 rupees, 10 shares will be issued against one debenture. Value of share comes to 500 rupees, 2 shares will be issued against one debenture. So that means to decide that conversion ratio, they get the shares valued. Next is valuation of share is required at the time of demerger. Demerger means, suppose this company has a cement division. This is a company X Limited, it has a cement division. It will transfer the cement division to another company, Y Limited. So that Y Limited will now manage the cement business, X will manage other business, and Y will issue shares to shareholder of X Limited. Y will issue share to shareholder of X Limited. Now how many shares will be issued? What will be the issue price? That will be decided by valuation of shares. Next point, when shares are unquoted, that means unlisted companies. Flipkart was an unlisted company, so they have to get their shares valued. Private limited companies, when they want to sell their stake in the company or buy the stake, so private companies go to the valuer and they ask the valuer company that please get our shares valued because we want to raise funds, we want to invite angel investor, venture capital investors, private equity investor, or we want to sell our stake to another company. So therefore, these are the potential clients which usually you will get as a valuer. Most of them are unquoted companies, unlisted company, private limited companies, because listed company share price is available in the stock market. Only some fine tuning, some adjustment will be done. But in case of unlisted company, which are in lakhs of numbers, if they have to raise funds by diluting their stake, by selling their stake, then in that case they will get the shares valued by a competent valuer, and you are the competent valuer. You. Okay. Which factors affect the valuation of share? Valuation of share is affected by many factors. I can't make an exhaustive list here. It depends on the kind of company that you are valuing. So if you are valuing companies which are asset oriented, asset is very important. Like for example, a construction company. For a construction company, the land, the real estate which they own, that will actually define their valuation. Okay. But if you are valuing a company like Infosys, software company, they don't have much asset, but they have huge earning potential. So in their case, the valuation is influenced by the earning capacity or profitability. In your accounts, you have studied one method called net asset method. Do you remember? Absorption chapter, where we used to take the value of assets minus liabilities. So that was one method we have used, net asset value method, or intrinsic value method was they have called in accounts. Second is earning capacity. So companies like Facebook, Google, Infosys, TCS, their values are more affected by the earning capacity. People are paying huge amount of money to acquire the shares of these companies, not for their asset, but because these companies will generate future earning. Third factor which will affect the valuation, and we are going to use it in our class also, is normal rate of return. What is normal rate of return? Normal rate of return means the rate of return, the yield expected by the industry to which the firm belongs. So basically they are talking about the rate of return desired. So it is basically discount rate. Does discount rate affect valuation? Yes. Higher discount rate will reduce the value. Lower discount rate will increase the value. Higher discount rate will reduce the value. Lower discount rate will increase the value. And how to calculate discount rate is also sometimes subjective exercise. It is the desired rate of return, expected rate of return, which can vary from valuer to valuer, person to person. So we use some methods to arrive at the discount rate also. So one of the subjective number is discount rate used in valuation. Discount rate is used to calculate the present value of future earning, present value of future cash flow, etc. And another factor affecting the value of the share is market value. For listed company, can we ignore the market value of the share? Say for example, you want to value Larsen and Toubro. It's a engineering and construction company, one of the biggest companies in our country. Now what is the listed price of this share? On the stock exchange, this share trade around 900 rupees. Then you are appointed as a valuer. For some reason, this company wants to get its share valued. And what you did, the valuer, the CA finalist, the valuer said, according to my calculations, what I have learnt in CA final SFM class, the value should be 300 rupees. My teacher has taught me some formula, based on that I get 300 rupees. But the whole stock market, every day lakhs of shares are being bought and sold of Larsen and Toubro company. The daily volume is in lakhs of shares, sometimes crores of shares. They are willing to pay 900 rupees. The average 6-month price is 900 rupees. And you fellow who have just completed group 1 of CA final, you are saying that its value should be 300 rupees according to my calculation. Take your valuation report and throw in the dustbin. This will not be agreed to by the parties involved. So therefore, in case of listed company, the valuation will take into account how much the stock market is willing to pay. So average stock market price is 900 rupees. So the parties will negotiate around this number. The parties will negotiate around this number depending upon how much percentage of stake you are acquiring. Are you acquiring a minority stake, majority stake, okay, 75% stake, etc. So that might influence the valuation. So what are the various methods of valuation of share? I have made a small list. There can be other methods also. And as a CA student, as a professional student, you should understand this different valuation method. For your general knowledge, nowadays valuers have also become big professionals, and one can specialize in, one can dedicate his career to valuation, because more and more companies are now raising funds from different sources, like getting listed on the stock exchange, then from venture capitalist, private equity investor, investment bankers, and therefore those people will come to you and take your guidance as to how to value their shares. Even though I am a teacher, but still I find some people, some companies, they approach me and say, sir, please help us with my valuation. I have to increase my capital. Somebody is willing to invest. How much I should ask him? So you will require In case of valuation of equity share, there are multiple methods. It depends on the kind of company, kind of industry that we are valuing, and accordingly we can use one or more than one method. Sometimes we take multiple methods and take their average also, because you cannot rely only on one method. Parties may not agree only on one method. So various parameters are considered for valuation purpose. So let us make a list of these methods. Balance sheet valuation method, dividend discount model, earning multiplier approach, price to book value ratio, price to sales ratio, market related approaches. Under that we have market value method, comparable company approach. This list is not exhaustive. Why it is called balance sheet method? So basically here we take into account the assets and liabilities for valuation purpose. Under that also there are different approaches you can follow, like book value approach. We'll discuss in the next paragraph. Liquidation value, replacement value, discussion in the next paragraph. For exam purpose, see, we have to maintain a balance between exam and practical understanding of this chapter. Only exam oriented is also not good for this chapter, because this is highly practical topic, but only practical is also not important. We have to see what is the focus of the exam. So accordingly we will divide our time and attention over exam question and practical knowledge. So in the exam, if you see, they mostly ask question which is based on dividend discount model. That is, the price of the share is the present value of future dividend, and under that they will create different scenarios for you, like they will say single period valuation, multi-period valuation, growth model. So out of three also, this is more important for exam. So you have to focus here more. Exam focus should be on growth model, dividend growth model. Then here also we have zero growth model, means no growth in dividend, constant dividend. Two-stage growth model, where dividends will grow initially at a high rate but later on stabilizes. And third is where the dividend is growing but at a constant rate. So we will be taking maximum questions on multi-period valuation model and growth models. Under growth model we will be taking questions on zero growth, two-stage growth and constant growth model, because for exam purpose even recent exams have questions on dividend growth models. Next is earning multiplier approach. So instead of focusing on dividend, investors focus on earning. So those who are long-term investors, those who acquire a high percentage of stake in a company, they think whether the company pays dividend or company retains the earning. Ultimately, I am the owner of every rupee earned by the company. So therefore they might use earning multiplier approach. And nowadays they use some market based models which are price to book value ratio, price to sales ratio. I will explain when I'll come to that. Market related approaches, where they use market value method for listed company, or they will take a comparable company and take the comparable company as a basis for valuing a different company. So let us begin this wonderful chapter by using balance sheet valuation method. As you can understand from the name, here the valuation is affected by the assets of the company and the liabilities of the company. Hence the name given is balance sheet valuation. Okay. So why it is called balance sheet valuation? It is based on assets of the company that it owns and the liability that it O's. First approach we will see below, point A, book value approach. Why it is called book value approach? Because it is based on the book value of assets and liabilities. So how this approach works? You will remember your accounting chapter of absorption or amalgamation, where they used to say X Limited will acquire Y Limited and the purchase consideration is based on their assets and liabilities as per balance sheet. So here we have property, plant, equipment 100, investment 200, current asset 300, share capital 300, reserve and surplus 200 and liabilities 100. So this is your balance sheet. Total is 600, and suppose the number of shares are 30 lakhs. Number of shares 30 lakhs. 30 lakh share of 10 rupees each. Calculate the value. So what you will do, there are two ways you can do. Either you can take the total of assets minus liabilities divided by number of shares. Asset 600, liability 100 divided by 30 lakh shares. So that is 500 divided by 30. So this is called book value approach. 16.67 rupees per. There is another approach. What I can do, I can add share capital plus reserve divide by number of shares. If there is any losses, I will reduce, but there is no loss in this case. So again the answer will be 300 plus 200, 500 divided by 30 lakh share, 16.67. This method is very simple. It is just net worth divided by number of outstanding share. Net worth will be equity share capital. Don't add preference share. If it is given, don't add. Plus reserve minus losses if any. Suppose profit and loss account has a negative balance, so that you deduct, divide by number of equity shares. Okay. Or otherwise, suppose you are given assets of the company minus liabilities, so take the book value. Book value means as per the balance sheet, and divide by number of share. Book value of asset minus book value of liabilities divided by number of share. So write one example to keep you engaged, to keep you involved. I am going to make you write also after every 2-3 minutes something. So first write down one example. Net worth of XYZ Limited is rupees 37 million. Number of outstanding shares is equal to 2 million. Number of outstanding shares is equal to 2 million. Therefore, book value per share. Book value per share. Book value word will be used again in the chapter later. So book value per share will be 37 divided by 2. 37 divided by 2, rupees 18.50 per share. This is called book value per share. It is based on book value of assets and liabilities. Okay. So what is the advantage of this method? What is the advantage of this method? You write down there advantage. Simple to understand and apply. You don't have to go to the market. You don't have to do complicated calculation. You can just take the figure from the balance sheet. Based on that, you can get a quick answer. What is the book value per share? But disadvantage is book values are unrealistic. Book values are unrealistic. Values based on only book values of assets and liabilities are highly unrealistic. Then you will ask why. So I am only going to explain, no need to write. Suppose there is a land appearing in the balance sheet. So land will appear at historical cost. Unless you are following revaluation model, company have a choice to follow cost model or revaluation model under Ind AS 16, property, plant and equipment, or under AS 10, property, plant and equipment, or under IAS 16, property, plant and equipment. So in all the three standards, they have given you a choice. Either you can follow cost model or revaluation model. So cost model means you will carry the asset at their historical cost, subject to some depreciation or write-off if applicable. So in case of land, they might just carry at cost 2 lakh rupees purchased in 2005. Value has gone up to 25 lakh rupees now, but still appearing at 2 lakh rupees. So such values are not realistic. Another example, in book values, we don't show self-generated brand, goodwill, trademark, customer relationship, locational advantage, all these intangible assets which are created by the company, which are very valuable as far as the valuation of your business is concerned, but they don't get reflected in your valuation at all. So therefore book values may be unrealistic and they may not give you the true value of a share. Okay, so what we get is not a true value. But then why do we use it? At least it can be my starting number. To start with, we can take book value and then we can make adjustment to that, and then we can find out a more realistic value. So whenever a company comes to me and says, sir, I want to get my shares valued, how do I start? I'll first ask him, please show me your recent balance sheet, latest balance sheet. At least I will get an idea what are the assets and liabilities of this company, and then I will proceed further as per the discussion with the client. Second, you write down liquidation value. Don't write printed there, only example will write later. Liquidation value is little better than book value because it says don't take just the book value of assets and liability. Rather, you take into account what amount you will realize. So it takes into account the realizable value. In case if I sell these assets, if I sell the assets, what amount I will realize, less amount that I need to settle all my creditor as well as preference shareholder. Why preference? Because we have to find out the value available to equity holder. So before the equity shareholder can get anything, I have to pay the preference shareholder. So what I will realize minus what I will pay, the balancing amount is available to equity holder, and that I will divide by number of outstanding equity share. So this method assumes liquidation. Company is not liquidated, assumes liquidation, that if the company were liquidated, how much amount you will realize. Why will such method be used? Because it helps you to understand what is the minimum value you should demand from a buyer. As a seller, how much amount I should demand from a buyer? I will tell the buyer, dear buyer, if I sell these assets today, I'll get this amount and I'll pay these liabilities. So I'm left with so much of surplus. At least you give me this much surplus. In fact, you should give me more, because I'm selling you a business which is a going concern, and therefore you will enjoy all the other intangible advantage of a business. So therefore it sets a minimum amount and you can demand more than that. So that is the purpose of computing the liquidation value, Please write one example. XYZ Limited will realize rupees 45 million from the liquidation of its asset and pay rupees 80 million to its creditor and preference shareholders, and pay rupees 18 million to its creditors and preference shareholders in full settlement of their claim. In full settlement of their claim. Number of outstanding equity share is 1.5 million. Number of outstanding equity share is 1.5 million. Then liquidation value per share is equal to 45 minus 18 divided by 1.5. Now write down is equal to rupees 18 per share. Is it 18? 45 minus 18 divided by 1.5. Yes, rupees 18 per share. So this is called liquidation value per share. And the third one is called replacement cost. So it is based on replacement value of assets and liabilities. So point number B and C, what is the difference? Point number B is from realization point of view. How much amount I will realize by liquidating the assets and liabilities. Here we are talking from replacement point of view. How much does it cost to replace an asset and a liability? So this method takes into account the replacement cost of asset and liabilities. How much will it cost to create a similar asset or buy a similar asset? The use of this measure is based on the premise that market value of a firm cannot deviate too much from its replacement cost. So what this method assumes, the market value of the firm will be equal to or close to its replacement value. How much will it cost to replace the assets and liabilities? Now write one line here. Limitation. What is the limitation of this method? The limitation of this method is it is difficult to apply in practice because companies are huge. Many companies are huge, and therefore finding replacement cost of its assets and liabilities is very difficult task. Theoretically, what you are saying is a good approach, but finding replacement value is a near impossible task. Suppose you have to value a giant company like Apple or Walmart or Facebook, Google, Reliance, Tata Motors. Now these are huge companies. Finding their replacement value is near impossible. Task. So these are basically theoretical models. Now we'll come to dividend discount model. This model, at least for exam purpose, is very important, although many valuers may not apply this model, but we will go into little detail of this model, try to solve by different methods so that we can, at least from exam point of view, we will get the answer right. What is dividend discount model and why it is called so? We have told this in the first chapter, basic concept also. Dividend discount models assume that price of the share today, the value of the share today is equal to present value of future dividends. So simple. How much will you pay for a share today? I will pay for a share today equal to present value of what I will get. So what I will get from a company is dividend. what I will get from the company in future is the dividend. When you buy equity share, either you will get dividend or you will sell the share. But when you will sell the share, the value of that share at the time of sale is again the present value of future dividend only. So that means, in short, the value of a share is influenced by dividend. The value of the share is present value of the future dividend. So whether it is this or this model, all the models ultimately have the same calculation. You estimate the future dividend and discount it, and that is the price one will be willing to pay. So under this, today in next few minutes, we are going to first discuss single period valuation model, which they normally don't ask in the exam. Multi-period, yes, sometimes they ask, and mostly they will ask you growth model. So we will discuss zero growth, two-stage growth, constant growth. So our focus for next few minutes, and we'll solve many varieties of question on this. So you will get an idea what kind of question the institute will ask. So what is the dividend discount model? Single period model. Okay. So it says the value of the equity share today is equal to the present value of dividend expected from its ownership, plus, in case if you want to sell it after some years, plus the present value of sales price expected when the equity shares are sold. So the formula wise, if you see, just like in bond valuation, the price of the share is equal to PV of dividend plus PV of sale price whenever you will sell it. But sometime in case of equity share, we have an option to hold it for infinite period. In that case, the price will be only equal to present value of dividend. In case if you are planning to sell it after some years, then you have to add the present value of the selling price. Again, estimating this present selling price in future, this also is nothing but present value of dividend after this date. So ultimately it is all dividend, dividend, dividend. So first formula is single period valuation model. This model assumes that investor is expecting to hold the share only for 1 year. So he will buy today and sell after 1 year. So this is his timeline. In year 0 he will buy, and in year 1 he will sell. So he will get two cash flows: dividend he will get, price he will get. And how much amount he will be willing to pay for the share today, that is the question. So already discussed, he will pay present value of dividend plus present value of the price that is expected to receive. So therefore the price of the share today, P0, is, this is the present value of dividend, D1 upon 1 plus R, where R is the rate of return required on equity share. So the discount rate that we use is called required rate of return. Required rate of return. He will use his required rate of return. What rate of return he wants? Accordingly, he will calculate the present value. He means equity shareholder, and plus he will also discount the price expected after 1 year at his required rate of return. The sum of these two will give you value of the share today. So now the question number 1, a basic question, a warm-up question, okay, before the difficult one starts. So please come to question 1. This is printed there in your book. Write the answer there only. XYZ Limited's equity share is expected to provide. a dividend of rupees 2 and fetch a price of rupees 18 a year hence, what price would it sell for now if the investor's required rate of return is 12%? So this question says after a year you will get 2 rupees and you will get 18 rupees. How much you will pay? So write down. This is just a basic question. So do not worry about the presentation part. Otherwise you can first write the formula that P0 equal to D1 upon 1 plus R plus P1 upon 1 plus R, and then write this 2 lines. Or directly what you can do, you can add 2 plus 18, 20 and divide by 1.12. That is also okay, but as I said, let us not focus on presentation on this question. This is not for exam. This is for the beginners. Problem for the starters, beginners. The main course is yet to come. This was only starter. Now come to point number B below. You will find multi-period valuation model is written. What is multi-period valuation model? It means the shares will be held for more than 1 year. Either you can hold it for a limited number of years, finite period, or you can hold it for infinite period. So formula for price of the share today, here also, now since we are going to hold it for many years, it is the present value of all future dividend. Present value of all future dividend. So this is the sum of the present value of all future dividend. So in case if you are holding for more than a year, it is the sum of the present value of all the future dividend that you are going to receive. The above equation where you are going to hold the share for infinite period, then you will take this present value of all future dividend, make a list of all the future dividend and then discount it. I'll come to this formula again in a minute. But sometimes the investor plan to hold the shares only for a given time horizon. Say he wants to hold it only for 5 years or 3 years. Then how will you value the share? In case if in the question says an investor will purchase the share and he will hold it for 5 years. Calculate the present value of dividend for 5 years, which the question will provide you. Practically in real life you have to estimate it, and as you can understand, estimating dividend for 5 years may not be easy always unless some company have a certain fixed policy. And then you have to estimate one more difficult task under this approach. What will be the price of the share after this given time period of 5 years? So either this will be given to you in the question or you have to calculate. And to calculate it, they will give you again some method how to calculate it. So which again is a method of valuation only to be calculated. So this is how you get the value of share. So numerically, mathematically, no need to remember this. Sum of, it means sum of all future dividend plus sum of the present value of all future dividend plus present value of the price at the end of the horizon, time horizon. So that is what this number state. Now I am going to give you a small simple question number 2 to get a feeling of how we compute the value of the share when you want to hold it for a limited time period. So I will read the question number 2 from your book. Mr. A wants to buy shares of B he intends to hold these shares for 6 years. He has defined his time horizon 6 years, during which he is expected to receive an annual dividend of rupees 5 per share. According to his estimation, he can sell this share after 6 years for rupees 85 per share. Wonderful. This fellow is able to forecast that after 6 years, he will be able to sell it for 85 rupees per share. His required rate of return is 12%, that is discount rate. Should he buy the share if the market price is rupees 60? So actually they are also testing your decision making power. How do I take a decision? We will first compute intrinsic value. Then we will see what is the market price. If market price is less than intrinsic value, then it is undervalued, buy. If market price is greater than intrinsic value, it is overvalued, you will say sell. Then what is intrinsic value? It is the present value of future cash flows, which in this problem you will get dividend of 5 rupees per share for 6 years, and then after 6 years you will get 85 rupees. So this is the summary of this problem. Write down the heading calculation of intrinsic value of shares. Calculation of intrinsic value of share. Draw this table. Year, cash flow, discounting factor at the rate of 12% and present value. Year 1-6. Cash flow will be 5 rupees dividend every year, correct? 6th year, you will get the price 85. It is given in the question, so I will take it without much argument. Why it is 85, how it has to come 85. Solve. I think you can solve it. You have to calculate the annuity factor for 6 years at the rate of 12%, which is 1 divided by 1.12. Those students who have GT in their calculator will press equal to 6 times and press GT. And those unfortunate students who don't have GT, they will have to press equal to M plus 6 times and MRC. So are you getting 4.1114? Yes. And then 6th year factor, single cash flow 85, 1 divided by 1.12, 6 times equal to 0.5066. Then multiply 5 into 4.1114, 20.557, 85 into 0.5066, 43.061, take the total, and this is 63.815. This is the intrinsic value. This is the intrinsic value. And what is the market price? Write down market price. There is a, write down under the heading evaluation. Market price is equal to rupees 60. Intrinsic value is rupees 63.618. Therefore, the share is underpriced, undervalued. Then write down step 3 recommendation. All of you have understood it is underpriced. So step 3 recommendation. Under recommendation write down buy the shares as it is undervalued. Buy the shares because it is undervalued. So this way you have to write the answer. First intrinsic value, second evaluation, and third recommendation. Now we'll do one more practice. These are very fundamental questions, and as we will go ahead in the next few days, you will find that the level of questions will have risen like anything, and they will become more and more difficult. So don't think that this is the only part of this chapter. This is warm up. Before the match starts, we do some warm up. Okay. So what do cricketers do? They will play in the net. So this is net practice. The actual match is about to begin. Question number 3. Again a net practice only. Mr. A wants to buy shares of B. He intends to hold these shares for 6 years, during which he is expected to receive dividend of 5, 3, 4, 2, 9 and 8 per share at the end of each year. According to his estimation, he can sell the shares after 6 years for rupees 85 per share. If his required rate of return is 12% per annum, should he buy the share if the market price is 60? You can call it a similar problem, but not same. In the previous question, dividend was constant for 6 years. In this problem, the dividend amount is changing. So we will have to write all the 6 years and one more time 6th year for writing the price. So start with very basic question. I want all of you to try this question yourself, and I will only give you the final value. I have also not solved. Calculation of intrinsic value, year cash flow, discounting factor at 12%, present value. Year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, again 6, cash flow column 5, 3, 4, 2, 9, 8, these are dividends, and the last one is 85 rupees price given in the question. No need to discuss and debate how this 85 has come. These are dividends. So those who want to write like this, you can just write these are dividends. Now solve yourself. Solve on your own. Right? So the answer is, final answer I have 63.20. If your answer is 63.20 or very near to 63.20, congratulations, you are right. Now we have to write below evaluation. So what will you write? Evaluation, market price is rupees 60, which is less than the intrinsic value, bracket rupees 63.20, or whatever amount you have got here, you write here, it should match. Therefore, the share is undervalued. Therefore, the share is undervalued. And now write down recommendation yourself. Buy the shares. Recommendation, buy the shares. Recommendation, write down buy the shares. This is enough. Now we'll come to question number 4. One more practice on limited number of period for which the shares were held. Okay. Mr. A wants to buy shares of B. He wants to hold the share for 6 years. He expects to receive a dividend of rupees 5 per share next year, and with a growth rate of 4% per annum. So here what you will have to do, you have to calculate what dividend he will receive in the second year, third year, fourth year till sixth year. This time the dividend is growing at the rate of 4% per annum. According to his estimation, he can sell this share after 6 years for rupees 85 per share. Required rate of return is 12% per annum. Should he buy the shares if the market price is rupees 60? Same problem they can ask you in different ways. So this time you have to again solve yourself. Write down the heading, calculation of intrinsic value, draw 4 columns, year cash flow discounting factor at 12% and present value. Year cash flow discounting factor at 12% present value. In year column write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and one more time 6 because I have to write the price. Now take your calculator. How to do it fast? First is 5 rupees, write down yourself 5 rupees. Written. Now see the growth rate is 4%. Means the next figure will be 1.04 times of the previous one. 1.04 type. 1.04 into 5 is equal to 5.20. Just press equal to 5.408. Press equal to 5.624. Press equal to 5.85. Press equal to 6.08. So if I have to multiply by 1.04 every time, so why can't I just use this shortcut formula and get this fast and then write 85. Now calculate the discounting factor yourself. In the previous question you might have calculated. So then you can copy it from there and then compute the present value. Again I will ask you to solve. Compute present value on your own. Try. All of you are trying. That's a good news. Because many times in the exam the student don't make mistake in the concept, but he makes mistake in writing the present value, the factor, the total. So more and more you practice, the lesser will be the mistake. That is why I am going to make you do many questions in classroom only as practice. 65.50. We are getting 65.50. Check. Approximately are you close to 65.50? After decimal, a minor variation I will allow. Now write down below evaluation. I am going to dictate, you will write. The market price of this share is rupees 60. The market price of the share is rupees 60, which is less than the intrinsic value, that is rupees 65.50, which is less than the intrinsic value, that is rupees 65.50. Therefore the share is underpriced. Then write down next paragraph, step 3, recommendation. Recommendation write down buy the shares. Recommendation write buy the shares. Fine. So these were the 3 questions where the investor intended to hold the share for a finite period. Now we'll take growth model where the investor will be holding the share for infinite period. So here we will first assume 1. The company will pay a fixed amount of dividend per share. and the dividend will be paid forever. Investor wants to hold the share for infinite period. So mathematically what is happening? The price of the share today is the present value of all future dividend, and dividend is constant, so it will be D upon 1 plus R, present value of dividend of first year, plus D upon 1 plus R square, present value of dividend of the second year, and plus, if you want to write one more, D upon 1 plus R to the power 3. This is present value of dividend of the third year, and this will go on till infinity. Now, if you look at these calculations, it is a geometric progression series. It is a geometric progression series. So right here you have some space to write. It is geometric progression series. It's a geometric progression series. Now we are not going to follow geometric progression in the classroom right now, but on simplification, you have learnt in your mathematics classes geometric progression, supposedly. You may not have learnt also. Some of you have not even heard also. Anyway, so it's a mathematical process, and after applying those steps, you will land with the final answer P0 equal to D upon R. P0 is D upon R. That is called price of the share today is the present value of future dividend, and this formula is based on the constant annuity formula A upon R only. Present value of an infinite constant annuity is A upon R. So on this we will solve one small question there, again a warm-up question, and then we will take some advanced questions in a while. Question number 5 in your book. X Limited pays a dividend of ₹2 per share every year, and the investor's required rate of return is 10%. What is the value of equity share? What is the value of equity share? So if you get such question, this is the easiest question in this planet Earth. You are getting 2 rupees dividend every year. Your required rate of return is 10%. The price of the share will be 2 upon 10%. So first you can write the formula. At least write something. Price equal to dividend upon R. 2 upon 10%. 2 upon 10%, and that is equal to rupees 20. Now we'll take a break.